to work so hard, and especially in ministry because you really believe in what you're doing. But even if it's just a job that you love or a job that you have to do because you have a lot of responsibility, to work to the point that you're just burnt out, that you can't do it anymore. So how do we avoid that?
Well, I think God tells us pretty plainly in the Bible that we need at least 1 day out of 7 to rest.
Yeah.
And although we don't live under the law, that's wisdom for your health. And so I think of 2 words, balance and variety. I think, when we talk about burnout, we always talk about it from the standpoint of working too hard. But I'll give you another example that I think is interesting. Dave's job when he was in the Army was to play basketball to entertain the troops. They had baseball teams and basketball teams that would go around and entertain the troops. And so he was good at basketball, he was tall, and so they had a coach one time that had them practice 4 hours every day. They would scrimmage, which means run up and down the court, up and down the court. And he said he would eat unbelievable amounts of food, and he still lost 25 pounds during that period of time. And he actually got burnt out on a sport that he loved.
Right.
And got to the point where he just didn't even want to do it anymore because the guy was overdoing it. So you can burn out even on something that you enjoy if you overdo it and do it too much. I find that with watching TV. I enjoy watching good movies and things that are enjoyable or things that make me laugh. But if I do it too much, then I start not liking it. Or like a restaurant. If I find a restaurant that I really like, then I just want to go there and go there and go there, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go there again for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So we can burn out on anything, and that's why, if you think about it, why did God put so many different varieties of fruits and vegetables on the earth?
Yeah.
I mean, why not just grow carrots and apples and nothing else? Because we actually need variety. And that, so if you work too much, and in ministry, I think we think sometimes because we're working for the Lord that we're exempt from all those other rules. Oh, I can do this. God will cover me. Well, I mean, I got really sick from working too hard, and it took me a long time to come back from it, and I don't know that I will ever come back 100% because I just really wore my adrenals out just working, and I had done it for so many years. And I just really try to plead with people to pay attention to what they're doing and not just, we're not human doings, we're human beings, and you have to take time to be. And I think especially in a Western culture, everything is about work. Not how are you, but what do you do?
That's true, yeah.
It's, so many people, you say, how you been? Busy.
Yeah, we say, how are you doing?
Right.
And in Australia, they say, how are you going?
Really?
Yeah, and I just find that so interesting. It's just different perspectives of what we think is important, and becomes who we are.
Yeah, when you meet new people, it doesn't take very long before you want to find out what they do.
Right.
And so are we really interested in them as a human being? Or are we just trying to find out what they do so we can see if we're going to be impressed enough with them to press on in the relationship? And it's, I'm a worker anyway, and I'm motivated by accomplishment. That's part of my temperament that God has given me. And it's a good thing because you don't build something like what we have here if you're not a hard worker. But there were things that I could have and should have said no to that would have given me the breaks that I needed to not get to the point where it affected my health in a very major way. And I'm doing good now, but I know that I could get right back in the same condition if I don't continue to do good. Just this morning, I canceled an appointment that I had on Sunday because I realized that I had something, I was going to be doing something like 7 out of 7 days. And I just won't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I have to take time to rest and time to be quiet.
Well, I look at the longevity
Right.
of your ministry,
Right.
and how much more God has in store.
Right.
So a lot of that does have to come from learning and adjusting along the way, I assume.
Right. You know, we don't like to tell people no because, number one, you don't want to hurt their feelings. But I think even more than that, I think we really don't want people to be mad at us.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think a lot of times we say yes because we think if we say no, they're going to get angry. And we want everybody to like us.
Yeah.
And if you really have to, if you're going to follow the Holy Spirit, then you have to be willing to say no when you know that no is the wise thing to do. I just put together a message that I'll preach a little bit later on called Leaving the Crowd Behind. And in Mark chapter 4, Jesus said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side. And they started,
That's good, yeah.
and they got in a storm, and they got afraid, and Jesus calmed the storm. And in chapter 5, verse 1, it says, and they arrived on the other side. But there's something in there that I had never really heard anybody preach on. And when Jesus said, let us go over to the other side, the next thing it says is, and they left the crowd behind. And it's...
Yeah.
You just can't, if you want to do, anybody, if you want to do what God wants you to do, I mean, even if you want to be a great mom, you can't maybe run around with everybody all the time that wants you to run around with them. It's not just about being in ministry, but we all have to know how to say no as well as how to say yes.
Yeah, I'm much the same way as you are. I like to be busy. I like to reach my goals. I think that I don't feel the stress because there's so much to do, and your body feels stress that you don't even realize emotionally that's going on. But I also have FOMO. I have that fear of missing out thing really big. If somebody's doing something, I don't want to be on the outside of it. And I can let all those things together determine my schedule instead of me determining my schedule, just like you're talking about. And I have learned a whole lot. I'm still not great at it. I'm still balancing all that out. But exactly what you said, balance. And as when I was a young mom and now that our family dynamics have changed, you have to refigure that balance all along the way.
Yeah, and I think that we really have to. People that are strong, and I'm strong, you're strong, most type A personalities are strong. They are strong people. They don't give up easy, and they can do a lot. But I think a lot of times we don't want to look weak.
That's
to anybody.
Very true, yeah.
And so we'll take on things that down deep inside we know we shouldn't, just because we don't want anybody to think that we can't do it. And I hear other like ministers that are getting older and they're not able to do what they once could do. It's amazing how people don't want to admit that. And they'll just keep trying to do things that they should be letting somebody else do by now.
Yeah.
And, you either will make healthy changes as you go along, or you'll be forced to make them. One of the two.
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel different now. Do you mind if I ask how old you are on air?
Oh, I'll freely say it. So at 58,
Okay.
there is no doubt that my mind thinks that I'm still,
Right.
in my 20s, but my body knows better.
Right.
And so it does change things. And you don't always realize that you need to make the different choices until you start to feel things differently.
And I think every decade, your body goes through different changes. I have a son that's in his 50s now, and he's told me, he said, I hurt places that I didn't even know that I had. before.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, I'm way past where you're at. I'm 78 now, and still have a passion to preach the gospel. I think I feel good for where I'm at, but I don't feel great every single day, and I need to be willing to rest. Like I went out of town the other day. I went to a funeral, so I flew and had talked to a lot of people, flew back, and the next day I was tired. And, you know, and so I tend to think, well, why am I tired? And it's like traveling makes you tired. Actually, I've heard that there's nothing harder on your body than air travel. And so we just have to.
Well, I didn't want to know that.
And seeing it's okay to be tired.
Yeah.
It's
that's
okay.
A good point.
It's okay to rest.
Rest.
You're not weak if you're tired.
Yeah.
You're not weak if you rest, and there's not something wrong with you if you just can't say yes to everything everybody wants you to do. And I think one of the things we have to realize is when people ask you to do something, they want to hear yes. They don't want to hear no. And so you will have to take a chance on people being unhappy with you. If you're going to take care of yourself, then you're going to either be happy with you or you're going to keep everybody else happy with you.
Right.
And end up being unhappy with you.
And I think of all that God still has in store for us.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what age we are, no matter who we are, God still has things He wants us to do.
Right.
So if we don't take advantage of these things you're talking about, some variety in our life,
Right.
some balance in what we're doing, we will come to the point where we're not able to
Yeah.
do what He wants.
Like one of the things that I really need now is quiet. And I like to be home at night. So unless I'm ministering, unless I'm out teaching or preaching at an evening meeting, you just can't hardly pry me out of my house at
Once the
night.
street lights come on,
Yeah.
right?
So my kids tease me, you better get home, Mom, the street lights are coming on. And, you know, I just have gotten to the point, I don't really care what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
That's what makes me comfortable. That's what I like. I mean, I spent so many years out every night. For a long time, I was probably teaching somewhere every night. And, you know, going here and going there and going to this party and going to that party and going to this prayer meeting. And I don't want to do that anymore. And so I don't have to apologize for it. It's just what I feel that I need in order to stay balanced and to be happy doing the rest of what I do, which is still a lot.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that some people are maybe going to make some adjustments after what we've been talking about, and just a little bit of encouragement for people. It's okay to slow down. It's
Right.
okay to ask God to let you rest.
It's okay to say no.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
And it's okay not to